So, so good morning, everybody. My name is Diogo. I come from SIBS, and I come to present you how we organize ourselves and how we have overcome the set of problems in the past couple of years, how we have digitalized our company, and how we have evolved in terms of payment industry here in Portugal. Okay. So SIBS has been around for 30 years now, 36 years to be precise, and we are mainly a payment services company. Okay, we are providing services worldwide. We work in Portugal, Poland, Algeria, Mozambique, Angola, Malta, and Nigeria, among others. And we provide you service payments, which for you, it's mainly all the touch points you have when you use a card. So every time you go to an ATM machine, every time you use your card on a terminal, you are using one of our services, you are going through one of our servers. And so let me move to a brief history of SIBS so that I can focus you on what we do. SIBS has been around since 1983, and it started by creating our national ATM network and our national POS network. So our payment terminals are all connected to our SIBS services. We have been creating a lot of services since the Via payments you all use when you drive around Portugal, and now you use it on parking lots and to pay all kinds of services. In 1996, we create one very important service, which is the payment services. Everybody pays with entity, reference, and value. And one interesting fact, in Portugal, most of us buy on e-commerce with an entity, a reference, and a value. It's kind of strange, but it's a payment method that the Portuguese adopted since a long time ago, and that has moved to the internet. We have created lots of services like the Ambinet virtual cards, the SEPA DD, it's the direct debit service. Everybody probably uses it to pay their bills. And recently, we have created MBWay. MBWay, it's our mobile payments wallet. Okay, it's the preferred wallet of the Portuguese right now. We have more than 1 million people using it. And it was the first wallet in Europe to allow to transfer money instantly just by using your mobile phone number. Okay, we launched it 4 years ago. We have new services coming out every day around MBWay. I'll talk to you about them in a while. But just last year, we launched two very important services also. What we call OBA, which is Open Banking APIs. And we launched an IPS service, which is an instant payment service that allows your banks to transfer money instantly, account to account. Okay. So, focusing just a little bit on MBWay. MBWay, it's our digital wallet, and since we are in a brief history of SIBS, just 2 days ago, we also made history. If you go to an ATM in a multibanco, around here or everywhere in Portugal, since yesterday or a couple of days ago, you are now able to use MBWay to unlock that ATM. So probably that doesn't exist anywhere in the world. We know that it doesn't exist in Europe, but if you go to an ATM outside, you press the green key, you point your MBWay to that ATM, and it will unlock with the card that you have selected on MBWay. Obviously, it also allows all the other traditional wallet services. You can transfer money, you can make payments, and it has one interesting feature. It's probably the most used gamification platform in Portugal right now. So we have more than 200,000 people playing a game in MBWay just by transferring money, making payments, and everything is counting points. Okay? And there's a race for prizes every day. And it was a very, very good use of a gamification strategy merged with a mobile payment. It was not Even for us, it was not the first use we thought of a gamification platform was to mix it with payments, but in the end, it worked really well. Of course, you can make instant payment transfers, and you can make QR code payments. I'm going to talk to you at the end of this presentation how we got to QR codes and what the challenge that was, what the big wall we had to overcome to have QR codes everywhere in Portugal right now. But it's a key feature for the future of payments in SIBS and a key feature for the payment industry in Portugal for the years to come. Just as I'm talking about history, we created a couple of weeks ago this SIBS API market. It may seem just as another API market. There are APIs everywhere nowadays. But this simple API market is going to disrupt completely the way we relate to the banking industry. Starting a couple of weeks ago, this API market allows all of you developers, all of you startups, fintechs, everybody who applies to access with one standard API 95% of the information, or 95% of the account information of the Portuguese. So this API market is connected to 18 of the major banks in Portugal, and it implements one single standard API. So you will not have to implement the Bank A API, then go to Bank B, then go to Bank C, talk to all their customer support, handle all their technical complexity. You'll get one API, okay? And starting 2 weeks ago, it allows you to do three very important things. Get account information, like balance and movements. Initiate a payment account to account. So if you initiate a payment with account to account, you don't need a card after all. You're just paying from your account to the merchant account directly. And it will also allow, it also has an operation for confirmation of funds. So you can check if there's an amount in that person's account. Obviously, this is done in a secure way, and it assumes that the owner of the account gives you consent. Okay? So, our core business is payments. Okay, it's what we've been doing for 36 years, but the payment industry has changed dramatically in the past few years. We started using plastic cards in 1950, started buying online. Everything was kind of calm, okay? Everything was based on cards. We created MBNet, which was a virtual card in the year 2000. But in the past couple of years, everybody is moving into the payment industry. And when I mean everybody, I mean obviously all the fintechs, all the startups, but also all the major players in the market. Apple has Apple Pay, Samsung has Samsung Pay, Revolut is coming on, so everybody is moving into the payment industry. So payments are a hot topic right now. And like other industries, like music or tourism or payments are in the digitalization process right now. And obviously, since this is our core business, we have to organize ourselves in terms of how to respond to these attackers and how to defend our position in the market. So obviously, MBWay is our flagship app. Okay, probably most of you have that app installed. But in order to create MBWay, you have to think of this company as a company which has a massive responsibility in this country. Okay? Every payment in every commerce in Portugal goes through our systems. So we want to go very agile. We want to go very Scrum, we want to be very fast, deploy every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. But at the end of the day, we have zero tolerance for risk, and we need to have zero tolerance for mistakes. So how do we combine these strategies? So we have changed ourselves as a company, and lots of companies are having to do the same movement nowadays to adapt to these companies that come from outside. They come with zero or very few legacy systems, and they can just start from zero, start very fast, but the others have to adapt. And how do we adapt, and how development teams get organized, and how do we focus everybody on a digital acceleration strategy without losing our core capabilities? So first of all, we need to move everybody that's working on the digital at the digital areas into a digital unit. Okay, we need to have the guys focused on, in our case, on MBA, on the APIs. Okay, they cannot be scattered around 5 or 6 divisions in the organization, each one doing their own thing. And they all need. We need a set of precise goals. So what's MBA going to be doing in September? What's going to be doing in October? What's going to be doing in January? Everybody needs to know that at the same time, and all the teams need to be focused to delivering that. And the communication between these guys needs to be very, very, very simple and very, very, very straightforward. So we can't have a very layered organization, so that at the end of the day, the guy that's going to code the feature is 3 meetings away from when the decision was made. So how are we combining this? So everybody here probably thinks Scrum is the next big thing. I've seen some presentations around agile development. Well, we can't do agile development for everything. Okay, I'd like to do it, but we are not going to do agile development for our core business, for our core system. Our core system, if it clinches for 5 minutes, we are going to be in the opening news in the 8 o'clock news in the television, okay? So we can't risk anything there. But on the other hand, MBA, we can launch a new version every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks. So it's been a challenge for the past 4 years to combine these 2 models. And we have come up with what we call a bimodal approach. This bimodal approach is, I would say, simple, but not that simple. Okay? So the guys that are programming the traditional model, they keep using waterfall methodologies. They have a release at the end of each month, and it's the way it is. It's been around. It's being done like that for 36 years. It's been working. We have one of the more stable systems in the world. We have 99.9% of availability, so we're not going to change that. And if I go to my ops guy and say, I want to deploy something on the multi-band ecosystem every week or every 2 weeks, it's just not going to happen. I'm going to be there 3 minutes talking to him, and then I'm going to have to go away. So our digital teams need to deploy every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks or so. So we are putting these teams on agile methodologies. We have 8, 10 people in each team, and we are combining the deliveries of these teams with the main system a month or so in the future. So what does this mean? It means that with a bimodal approach, we will have a waterfall for the core system guys, and we will have agile for the digital enablers. And we expect, and we have seen this in the past years, to get more value out of this approach, okay? Without the risk. So what this means is that for this to work, we need to be thinking ahead, so that all major changes in our core system can be thought 6 months, for instance, but we need to have very agile teams at the same time. So we are splitting the requirements, and we are splitting everything that needs to change our main core. It goes into a plan with a release date somewhere in the next month or so. Everything that can be changed without changing our core processing system, it can be done right now. It goes into the sprint backlog, everybody is working on it, and in a couple of weeks it will be out. Our faster teams are 8 to 12 elements. We can go a little bit bigger, or you can go a little bit smaller, but for now you go to 8, 12 guys on a specific feature team. Uh, and one very important thing that we did is that we bring the product guys to these teams. So the product guys are no longer somewhere out in the headquarters saying that what MBWay should be doing next week or next month. They are near the teams and they are in the weekly discussions and sometimes in the daily discussions with us. For what I call here think ahead, we created a team with basically everybody in the company. We have from the CEO to developers discussing what's going to be done in 6 months from now and what's going to be done in 8 months from now, but with an assumption. It can change. But even if it can change, doesn't mean that I don't have to think ahead. Doesn't mean that I'm going to discover next week what I'm going to do next month. It's not going to work that way. We have to think at least, nowadays, at least 6 months ahead, exactly because I have a core system that needs to be changed, that I cannot change it overnight. This is probably the most interesting part of this transformation, is that this Think Ahead team really discusses these problems. From our experience and from the transformation in which we are right now, the discussions we have and the level of discussions you need to have in our organization in order to transform the way you work, it's very deep, and sometimes it's very frustrating, okay? You need to go into a meeting with your CEO at the same time as with your development team, and sometimes you just can't get your idea through. Sometimes you have no idea, or just go to the meeting and you try to back up some other guy's idea, or you just don't like any of the ideas, and you're just there for 3 hours saying that you don't like anything you're hearing, okay? So it's kind of frustrating sometimes, but without those meetings, without those discussions, the final outcome will be biased, because either it will be what some guy in the product team just said, okay, this is what I think it's better, or it will be what some IT guy said, this is the next big thing I would like to code, I just see this on the internet, this is really cool, I think MBWay should go that way. And then there's a guy from the product said, hey, no way, man, it's never going to happen. So those discussions, which happen sometimes every week, are the key for the success of a product in the long term, okay? So this is I need to bring this slide because of the testing and the quality assurance that needs to come into these processes. So obviously, in order to go fast, you need to automate testing. There's no other way. Okay? I cannot release in 2 weeks without test automation. It's impossible. Okay? But on the other hand, people are normally thinking of test automation as, I'm going to test my app. I'm going to press the button automatically 1 million times, and the button, if it goes green, my test has passed. If it goes red, well, it crashed. The difference here is that I need to test until the final log file in the core system. And that's where the difficulty comes when we are doing full-scale integration testing. Currently, we have more than 10,000 tests running on our core system platform, and they all run automatically. I can test since the time you press the app button until the final log file in the core processor. Because I need to know that the app says OK, but that your money got through to the other guy. Otherwise, it will be very pretty, but everybody will be complaining that their money is disappearing. So one other very important change is that you need the guys that are testing. So some parts, I'll go back there in a while. Some guys that are testing just know how to test the app. But we needed to train everybody to test the app and to see if the log file is OK, to see if the transaction went through, if the bank account was updated. So it's not enough to have a person that tests an app or tests a portal or some system, and he only knows about that portal. Okay? And since we are going agile, this is the part that most developers don't like that much. Agile gives more power to the development teams. They are empowered in in several ways. But with that power must come more responsibility. That's a fact of life. So the guys that are changing and making changes every day are accountable for as many problems as we get down the line when we go to the automation testing. So the process testing is it's a continuous process, and just for those who know test first scenarios, we don't do. I've tried it in a past job. We don't do test first, okay? We don't do test-driven. Sorry, we don't do test-driven development, okay? All the tests we do for our software are mainly executed by humans. We never start with automated testing, never. We go through a process that every new feature is going to be tested by persons. At the same time, we are developing and we are creating. Some of them come from development, some of them have to be built on top. The automation testing. The first run is just done by people. The second run is done by people and done by the robots, the scripts, the whatever. Okay? And then we compare. If everything goes well in the core processing system or in the app or in everywhere, then we can trust in the automation testing. Until there's a comparison between what the scripts have done and what the humans have done, we just can't leave it running and forget about it, okay? So I just go about the advantages of the automation. Obviously, it will improve our test coverage. It's reusable. We run them every week. Sometimes we run them. Some of them we run every day. And overall quality has been improved. So for a system that's processing around 7 to 10 million transactions every day, we have near zero complaints. Okay, we are really near zero. Sometimes this is IT. There's always some bug somewhere, or there's always some problem somewhere. But we are really have a very low error numbers or incident numbers. So, after all this transformation, sorry, it's kind of Portuguese. After all this transformation, so we have now some teams working very fast in Agile. We still have our waterfall model going on. And in mid-2017, we said that MBWay needed to have mobile contactless payments. We just needed to have them. A wallet that can't pay was kind of strange. So we need to have contactless payments on MBWay. So for Android, it was very easy. There was no big deal implementing NFC on Android. But Apple, everybody probably knows this, doesn't allow us to use the NFC antenna. So now they are a little bit more open. I can read NFC tags, but I still can send nothing to the other side. And if I tap a payment terminal, I need to send the card token, to the terminal. And there's no way I can do it. So we have probably 10 of those meetings on how are we going to move from here, because we didn't want to go just with Android NFC and say to everybody, sorry, blame it on Apple. We just don't love them, and that's what it is. We can even try to sue Apple. Some guys in the world are trying to sue Apple. They are taking them to court because they don't allow us to use the NFC antenna. By the way, Apple Pay can use the NFC antenna. But, well, suing Apple was probably not going to take that much of the outcome was not going to be. Probably it will have some outcome, but in many years. We can try to talk to them and say, why don't you open the antenna just for us? Some other guys have tried that in the world. It never happened so far. So we need to find another way. So in our endless discussions, we come up with the idea of using QR codes. If you don't know, at the other side of the world, in Asia, lots of payments, most of the payments are doing with QR codes. Here in Europe, or in Portugal, nothing of that existed until a couple of years ago. So we tried to, and here in Portugal, everybody's used to pay in a payment terminal. That's how we work. If you go to a restaurant outside, and you, at the end of your meal, you say, bring me the multibanco. And the guy will bring you the machine, and he will ask you for your card. Okay? So it's the way we are working right now here in Portugal. So how do we combine these things? QR codes are working very well in the other side of the world, and everybody wants to use a payment terminal here in Portugal. So we go ahead with the QR code payments. Major decision points. Probably Apple will not cut access to the camera to MBY. So they obviously can do it, but we are hoping that they will still allow us to use the camera. QR code scanning and generation algorithms are pretty easy to use, pretty easy to implement, so it will give us a good time to market to deliver QR code here in Portugal. And if you think about it, QR codes are not confined to a terminal. So we could think in the future of bringing QR codes to other places. Major challenges. This is very important to understand. This is a very bold move from a payments company because we needed to change, and we are still changing, all the 300,000 terminals that exist in Portugal. All of them are receiving new versions. And a change like this doesn't happen overnight. It was going to take us several months to reach all the terminals that we have in the country. One other problem, obviously, is that the code that's running inside the terminals, it's from those terminal suppliers. So you have Ingenico, Verifone, Spire, whatever. So we had to talk to all of them to implement a new feature that will talk to SIBS to generate the QR code and to display it on the terminal. And we have to certify all the models of all the terminals of all these suppliers in order to put them on the network. No terminal goes on the network without being certified, because nobody wants to lose their money and nobody wants a faulty terminal on the network. And obviously, there's a problem with terminals that just don't support QR codes. There are terminals which has one line of text or two. There's never going to be a QR code in one of those terminals. So for those, the merchants will have to upgrade if they want to get QR code payments on their shops. So this is the way that a small company here in Portugal, this is the way that we found to go around a major roadblock posed to us by, in this case, by Apple, and by the way they manage their antenna, let's say. So, but this, on the other hand, and we didn't think about it in the beginning, moving to QR codes opened a lot of possibilities for us. But this is when a challenge becomes an opportunity. This is one of those cases. Probably we wouldn't have implemented the QR codes because of all the troubles I mentioned you a while ago. Probably wouldn't have implemented them if there wasn't for this problem. And if NFC worked on Apple phones, well, we implemented it for Android phones. We'll implement it for Apple too. Everybody will be paying with NFC. Payments were served. There was not a very good reason to implement the QR codes. But since we did, and at the same time, we are deploying an API platform. And it's a financial API platform. So why don't we combine these immediately? So don't forget that the QR code has no card information. So there's no sensible data on that QR code. It has an amount, it has a date time, and it identifies a merchant. All the card data is handled by the MBWay app. So I can really deploy it everywhere I want. There's no restrictions. So not starting, because we haven't started yet. We have created the MBWay, the QR code APIs just for Pixel Camp. They are not production live yet, So you are testing them with us here at Pixels Camp. But this is just an incredible opportunity, and we believe that this will very, very, very fast change the way we make payments here at least here in Portugal, okay? So since I can put the QR code everywhere I want, and since I can give you, developers, a QR code in just a fraction of a second, you can display them basically everywhere there's a display. If you think you can embed it in a video, you can show it on a TV, or you can, there's some guys over there that are thinking about showing them in a vending machine. So the possibilities are endless. I can't imagine everywhere they are going to be used, but I just know that they're going to spread around very, very fast. And other QR codes are going to come up soon. So for now, it's for purchases. So when MBWay scans, it will do a purchase. You'll buy something. But if you think about it, I can create QR codes for almost everything. I can create them for a money transfer. If you have a QR code that represents your phone number, I will scan it with MBWay and I will transfer some money to you. I can create them for donations. So I can have a billboard with a QR code, and I will just scan it and send and choose an amount and just donate to that charity. So this is us in our meetings thinking about possible applications. For sure, there are many more that we haven't thought about. And so I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I hope you use our QR codes. I hope you do some challenges, some of our challenges in the hackathon. And remember, the sky is not the limit. Okay? Thank you very much. Yeah. Diz? There's a Q&A right now, so if you have any questions, you can make them. They are being all upgraded, don't worry.
I heard that you are using Windows Vista in your ATMs right now.
We have several versions of Windows, right?
Yeah, but you are...
They have 36 years, so...
But okay, but are you upgrading to Windows?
Yeah.
But you, at least for what we know, Microsoft is not going, or it seems that it's not planning to upgrade or to use or to maintain Windows, and will move to an open source environment. So, are you considering using?
We will have to move.
Linux?
But for now, they haven't moved, so we are just sticking with the upgrade plan.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. But for now, the software runs on Windows, so it's going to be Windows.
Thank you for the talk. Really interesting. I find expense tracking apps really hard to use because you do the expense and then you have to remember to put it on your phone and so on. How close are we to having an app that can talk to our banks through some API? And will that be provided by the banks or by SIBS?
You are as close as you can code it. That SIBS API platform currently has an API that will connect to one of these 18 banks. If you want to connect to other banks, you have to talk to their own APIs. But SIBS currently has an API that will allow you to have access to the bank balance and bank movements of around 95% of the Portuguese accounts. So if you can code it, and if you get our Bank of Portugal to say that you are a trustworthy company,
what if it's
you can start now.
Do
and if you go by our booth, I can show you the APIs.
does it work for Banco CTT? And do I have to be a company to have access to it?
You probably have to be a company. I don't know the details, but you probably have to be a company. The Bank of Portugal will have to say, will have to issue a certificate saying that you are an authorized company to use that APIs. There are some technical certificates that need to be generated. You can use it right now on the sandbox if you want. Okay, it will work. It will give you some bank data. That's dummy, of course. But in order to use it in production, the Bank of Portugal, which is the PSD2 authority here in Portugal, will have to grant you access. So you'll be issued a certificate that will be recognized by us in order to pass your requests to the banks.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? There's a guy here. And yes, it's going to be Windows. Yeah, but sorry, for the guy back there, Banco CTT is on the platform, okay? So don't worry.
Okay. So how does the MBNet works? I mean, you can generate new cards at any time. They are constantly available. How do you get... are there any numbers that are specifically targeted at MBNet?
Yeah, there are what we call bin, which is the first part of the number that they are used for MBNet. At the end of the day, MBNet are Visa credit cards generated on the fly. No, you can't generate them yourself.
No. That's not what I was going
as you want for everybody.
I was going to ask if is there a way for a merchant to know if that is a real account or a virtual account?
Yeah.
I mean, you told already that they have a specific set of numbers, but
yeah,
apart
they can.
from those numbers,
they can know if it's a virtual or a non-virtual card.
Okay. Thank you.
By those numbers.
Okay.
You can pass the phone to him.
How does Amazon and other services know what are the security codes associated with NBNet cards? And don't.
I don't know.
Okay. Because they don't.
How does Amazon know? You have to ask to Amazon.
Okay, it's like
That's
they know, and we don't even have to put the security codes to confirm the transaction. We only do it on the first time we use the service.
I didn't get the question.
When
you give your card to Amazon, they store in their gateway. When you give your card, when you enter your card on the Amazon, they store a token for that card. Okay, they don't have the card itself; they just have a token for that card. And from now on, they just use that token. And the gateway software that they have or that they bought, okay, which is certified and which is allowed to store credit card numbers, then translates that token to the real card and sends it to the processor. So if it's a Portuguese card, it will end up in our system. If it's from another country, it will go to their bank. So it will, for instance, if it's a Visa card, first goes to Visa. Visa say, okay, this is a Portuguese number, it will send it to SIBS. Or if it's I don't know, BNP Paribas, it will send it to their processor.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions? So that's it. Thank you very much.